Good evening and welcome to Hot News. We are live on Pan-African Television. We're also live on Facebook at Pan-African Television as well as YouTube at Pan-African Television. We are also streaming on about 48 African countries. You can join in the conversation by sending in your views, comments and contributions on our WhatsApp text line. We'll make a time and read all those out for you. Those of you watching us on Facebook can share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. You can leave your suggestions, questions, and whatnot on our Facebook pages or on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter at Pan-African Television. And I'll make time to read all those messages out for you. My name is Justice Appiah, and tonight on Hot News, we are still looking at the current economic quagmire we have found ourselves. You know that government is not sleeping on the situation in which we are. Government called for a crunch meeting. The president met his cabinet, ministers at Peduase to deliberate on the situation and come out with solutions. They've made some few resolutions and all of that. The Bank of Ghana and the Finance Ministry have been tasked to, as a matter of urgency, do something about the exchange rate. The president has also requested that about 16 of this government's flagship programs or policies be reviewed, including free senior high school policy. As of today, one other thing we are hearing is that the ministers or cabinet has cut, their pay by 30%, and they are urging members of parliament to also do same. However, the minority side in parliament are not enthused. They are not happy with that suggestion. They have indicated, they have served a notice that they are not ready to cut 30% of their salaries, but rather they are also suggesting to government that government should reduce its size. They should reduce the government size as well as put in other measures to make sure that we get some money for the day-to-day running of the country until we find a better solution for the situation. That is basically what we are going to be discussing on the show tonight. But I've been joined in the studio by Mr. George AC, Director of Communications, NADMO. He's also a member of a New Patriotic Party communications team. Mr. AC, good evening.
Good evening, my brother.
It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while.
Our condolences to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I didn't know until I saw the pictures on Facebook. This is because I've started exams and
I knew. I suspected you were busy writing exams. So
true.
When I saw the time span, I said, "No, my man is busy writing." It's important. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we've seen the old lady off. Well, we thank God for her life and for giving her to us and us to her, and for helping us to give her a befitting burial. I'm grateful to the entire family, both in the eastern region, Samankasi, Dukrum, and then the Volta region, Agotime-Petoi, where my mother comes from, and that's where we laid her to rest. The entire family, the district chief executive for Agotime-Ziope and her team, the regional director of NADMO in the Volta region, Ivy and her team, the NADMO director, Mr. Brown at Petoi, and all the MPP executives in the Volta region, and then the Agotime-Ziope district. And yeah, I'm grateful to, and all my mates, old students, mates, Edikamfo, Busek, and other places who came to commiserate with me and the family. I'm grateful to all of them.
Right. We thank God for her life. May her soul rest in perfect peace.
Yeah,
also, we are expecting Usman Ayariga, who is a member of the National Democratic Congress communications team, to join us anytime soon. But I think that, let me put this on record, the behavior of some communicators and members of parliament on the side of the National Democratic Congress is becoming unbecoming. Why am I saying so? You are in opposition, and sometimes, 3 days ago I called an MP who was actually supposed to be on the program. It was at the dying embers. Later, when I was about to start the show before, I had a call from somebody else, not even the member of parliament, telling me that the member of parliament says he's unable to come because his constituents are complaining about the pairing, and that the person I paired in with, they don't want him to be on the show with the person. And for that reason, he also refused to come. That put aside, I mean, my brother, Osman is a friend, he's a brother, but sometimes when things are not really right, let's talk about it. I called him earlier, and he knows the time we start the program, but he chose, to be here late. We've started the program and he's not here. But the question is, you are in opposition and you are behaving this way. Do you win elections with this attitude? Do you win elections with this? I mean, you are invited for programs. It's either sometimes you decline, without any information, or you come late. You deliberately come late. Do you win elections with this attitude? Anyway, but, well, they are in opposition. We'll continue with our program. And, thank you so much once again for joining us. But as when Osman joins us, he'll be part of the discussion.
Thank you.
But let me ask you, has government now admitted that we are facing economic challenges and that the need for an urgent solution? I'm asking this because there was a meeting, government had a cabinet meeting, to discuss the country's situation and look at some, resolutions and some solutions for the country. They came up with some few ones. The finance ministry has been tasked to, do something about the depreciation of the cedi, or depreciation of the cedi. Also, the government, of course, President has requested for a review of some of your flagship policies, including free senior high school policy, an admission that we don't have a robust economy as painted, by government currently.
Yeah, thank you, Justice. Good evening to you. Good evening to our viewers. Good evening to your production crew. I've always said it's a privilege and an honor to be on your set. Yes, government, let me correct this. Government hasn't said it's going to review any of the flagship programs.
I see.
We are saying we are going to have cost-cutting measures. Yes, so we are not talking of reviewing the flagship programs, because our opponents have a different understanding and interpretation of the word review.
Right.
So we are very careful in using that word. But albeit, after the retreat at PDRC, some media...
So what would you do to arrive at cutting costs? if that is what you're saying.
Yeah, so we will get there. So we didn't consciously use the word review, and we avoided it for a reason. We are taking steps to cut costs, and that so we can all put on a better apron to be able to prosecute the national agenda. Yes, government admits that the economy is challenged, and we have admitted so long ago, and we have said that this is as a result of, one, the COVID and the aftermath of the COVID. We have tried to rebuild and bring back our economy, as the president alluded to in most of his fellow Ghanaian speeches.
Right.
And he has said that what he cannot do, and the government cannot do, is to bring back lives that are lost.
Okay.
But what we can do is to bring back the economy. That one, we can do it, albeit maybe challenging. And so after that, last year we tried to put the blocks together to be able to grow, and estimated or projected growth for 2020, I think, is about 4.4, hitting 5 and co. So having come from a growth of 0.41% in 2020, and we all knew that what resulted in that. And so now that we are putting the building blocks together to be able to get back to our growth trajectory to hit 5.5 and then be hitting towards 7% thereabout, here we are again with another world unfortunate incident of Russia attacking Ukraine, and we all know the consequential effect on that. Food importation, especially wheat from Ukraine and Russia, gas and petroleum products also from that hub. I think they control about 40% of the world requirement. And so if there is something happening there, speculation alone can affect the market, okay? The stock market and the international market and all that. And of course, you cannot gloss over the fact that demand supply has an interplay in this world scheme, okay, especially in the petroleum industry. So it moved. We had projected in our budget 2022 that crude was going to sell at $61, right? Dollars. But as we speak, it went up to $130 and is back to $104 thereabouts now, right? So it tells you that it's gone way beyond our projected figure. And so if you are a net exporter, then there's going to be windfall. If you're a net importer, then there's going to be challenges for you. And so when we put all these together, Justice, we admit as a government that it's going to throw our budget out of, proportion or scheme.
I see.
And so we need to look at it and do something. Which something, in the budget proposal, we had proposed that we're going to rake in 100.5 billion Ghana cedis. And that included the e-levy, okay, which was projected to rake in about 6.9 billion, which is almost 7 billion, in the 100.5 billion that we were expecting. And we're going to expend about 137.5 billion, okay, which there was adjustment to about 145, including interest payment and other amortization and other things. So when you look at all these figures, we realize, no, if we want to go stricto sensu by what we had projected, a la the finance minister, there's going to be challenges. And so we need to adopt cost-cutting measures. And we initially said we're going to cut the expenditure by 20%. District assemblies, ministries, agencies, and all departments and co. We're starting from the presidency to the last bottom.
Now before we come to the
agency.
cost-cutting measures, now let's look at reasons attributed to the current economic situation we are in and all of that. Now, you talk about COVID. People are of the view that, look, under COVID, you had met your revenue target. Under COVID, you had received donations. Under COVID, you went for loans and all of that. I mean, you don't have any reason to complain. That COVID has ravaged the economy, and well, as a result, we are facing what we are facing today. Also, people are of the view that the economy started going down even before COVID, and so why is it that you are always using COVID as a yardstick to the situation?
I don't get it. I don't understand. Maybe they may give me figures and what they are projecting to me so. Because growth in 2017 was 8.1. Growth in 2018 was under 6.81. Growth in 2019 was 6.2 thereabouts. And growth in 2020, the COVID year, was 0.41. Okay? And so average 3 years, 17, 18, 19, was 7%. Okay, and so if that is what they say was nosediving, I don't understand. It wasn't. Okay, interest rate had, reduced to average of around 22%. Okay, from 33 thereabouts and was around 22. Inflation had gone to about single digit and then hit back to about 10 point something. Today is hovering around 15.7 thereabout, right? And so when you look at the data, it doesn't support the issue that the economy was nosediving. No, I disagree with that. Okay, until we were hit by that. And again, Justice, people are not looking at the thing realistically. Which economy that will be shut down for 3 weeks? 3 weeks. And then you say everything should be normal. Importation, exportation, everything shut down for 3 weeks. And then sectors of the economy were not productive for 9 months. Okay? But they were being paid. Sectors like that, in such an economy, you say it's not going to have a devastating blow on the economy in totality. It is going to have that. It is going to have that. So if you say, yes, there were receivables.
Exactly.
Things came in. That's 2021. You know, that's why 2020, we had growth of 0.41. Right. It tells you the effect.
How much did this government receive in terms of loans, in terms of, you know, donations and all of that during the COVID era?
Oh, I thought the World Bank, yes, no. But you could have written more than, maybe possibly more than that, if all things had been okay. Okay. You get it? So you can say because you had some receivables, the World Bank gave some $1 billion and then another $1 billion and so that is it, okay? And some 240 or 430 million dollars somewhere, so that is enough. No. Then everybody would have wished let there be trouble so that you just sit down and do nothing. No, because if the economy was running and you were generating revenue and productivity was going on, the revenues you were going to rake in would be more than what you would have gotten as receivables and co.
I see.
So that is as we speak, because we believe the economy is going to be running from January to December without any hitch. Like what we have seen now in Ukraine and Russia, we are projected we'll be able to move from 57 billion revenue that we were able to collect in 2021 to hit 100.5 billion. Some people think it's too, it's overambitious, okay? A target that we are projecting. But we thought we can. And then 137.5 billion, okay, pushed forward to about 145 billion in expenditure terms. But we are trying to also do another thing that the Financial Management Act has pegged that you cannot expend beyond 5% of budget deficit, right? Without recourse to Parliament, okay? If that is the case, then we need to operate within that. But in the COVID year and the year thereafter, 2021, we moved way outside of that, right? And we were projecting, I think last year was around 9.7. This year we're projecting to hit 7.4. Okay, and gradually bring it down to the financial management remit of 5%. Okay, budget deficit. So these are the steps that we are taking, and to look at the possibility of not meeting certain revenue targets, it's proper and prudent to cut back on expenditure projections. Right. And that is how come we are talking about this.
Why people are suggesting that government should cut down its size?
No, it's not out of way. It is a good suggestion. I wouldn't sit here and say, no, look, people, when we came our first time, we had over 125 ministers of state, right? People were not happy with it. People made comments, even including our own people, were not happy. This second term, we cut down to about 86 ministers of state. There's crisis, there are challenges. People feel, no, let's look back again, inward, and cut down on the number of ministers and maybe even the ministries. It's not a wrong suggestion at all. I welcome it. But we're going to look at it vis-a-vis what projected expectations we have for the economy in terms of building back our economy.
Why are you running away from going to IMF?
Oh, come on. We had looked at certain things, the conditionalities and other challenges, especially in the face of these flagship programs we are rolling out. Is it possible that we can go to IMF and they will allow us to continue to run all these 16 flagship programs and still have the support they normally give? Is it possible? Because we know the conditionalities that are attached to IMF funding and others, restrictions on recruitment and all those things, okay? And so we are looking at that and say, no, if we are disciplined, if we can manage our things and have a handle on our expenditure patterns, why not? Let's run our own things and then move on. Because after all, we went to IMF in 2014 for less than $1 billion. 918 million thereabout, okay? And look at all the conditionalities, and most of our graduates were left at home, okay? Trained professional nurses and teachers had completed and they were at home. because they cannot be employed unless, of course, somebody retires before you can make substitution. Okay, so we don't think that will be good for us, especially in the face of the number of youth unemployed that we have. And we are rolling out a policy we call, a program we call the Ghana Cares, the Obatampa program. Okay, we are putting about 100 billion Ghana cedis in there, and amongst that is the Youth Start policy and programs and other things that are aimed at helping the young people to get jobs. Okay, so we believe that no, let's be able to manage our own affairs. When we went to Senti and we went to IMF, what was the outcome? What was the outcome? So we believe we can do our own thing. So if we can manage things and cut costs and operate within our budget remit, why not? Let's handle our own affairs.
I'll come back to you. We'll come to, the other part of the discussion.
Yes,
where
records cutting.
Exactly. You are saying that you're not calling for a review. But no. Anyway, because you are still watching Hot News right here on Pan-African Television with me, Justice Appiah. You can join in the conversation by sending in your views, comments, and contributions on our WhatsApp/text line displayed on the screen. We'll make a time and read all those out for you. You can as well share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. I've been joined in the studio by Usman Ayariga. He's here with us now. But Usman, before I come to you, the way some of you are treating my show in recent times, or this platform in recent times, is something that I'm not really comfortable with. And this is not peculiar to you, because there are a lot of other communicators and some members of parliament who are exhibiting same. I feel that even in opposition, and in opposition, you don't even do this in the first place, because well, what do I gain? What do I have to lose in terms of you coming to the program late? But well, that's fine, bro. But you are welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening to your viewers. Good evening to my brother, George. You see, my deepest sympathies and condolences to you. I heard you buried your mom. Well, I buried my mom last year, and it's not an easy experience, irrespective of how old you are and how grown you are and how self-sufficient.
I have just buried my father.
Wow.
Celebrating the 1 year.
Wow. That is pathetic. So my sincerest condolence. And the next thing I would want to say too is to the Ghana police. I'm joining the call from the 6 MPs from the Upper East region, the Kusase or the Kusag area, who are calling on the police to try as much as possible to investigate the killing of the young man by 3 policemen right in front of his wife. The policemen went into the house, pulled the man out, and shot him right in the head. I'll get the name. I just forgot the name. But I mean, it's pathetic, and all the MPs are calling on the police to move swiftly with their investigations.
Right.
But Justice, I think your words were rather a bit too harsh on the side of the NDC, and I must say, when I was coming, I was monitoring on online, and I heard the first call, and you've repeated it, so I'll just try and respond to it.
Very well. You have the platform
to apologize to the viewers for coming in a bit late. I think this is not a station that the NDC has taken for granted. I think when you started this station, the NDC has always in every way represented its part of the show, every show from the morning show to the evening show. So with 1 or 2 hitches, don't just lump the entire NDC's communication and try to bastardize us. You understand? For me, myself, I have come for every show. Even sometimes I come for the evening. I think once or twice I came, and the other person, the other party's rep didn't attend. I didn't hear you get so harsh on the other party or the other person. But I mean, you are free to express your sentiments. But the only thing I have to say is that the NDC has no problem. The Pan-African TV has always been friendly to the NDC. The NDC has been friendly to the station. Whenever they are given the opportunity, we appear. So for 1 or 2 reasons, if someone is unable to make it for 1 or 2 reasons, or the person is late for 1 or 2 reasons beyond that person's control, and for me personally, it's not as if every time I'm invited I come late. I think you can attest to that fact. So if for today I'm late and you use such words, NDC in opposition, and they are not taking it seriously, I think it's rather harsh. So I just want to reassure you that we have no such intention.
Right.
So if there are 1 or 2 setbacks, we should just take it as a human
Well
institution with certain challenges. Now we come back to the current economic situation which we find ourselves. I think times past we have always drummed it to the MPP that the trajectory and the tangent in which this government is going is not going to lead us to anywhere favorable. And the earlier we change course, the earlier we change the route, the better for all of us. We raise the alarm with excessive borrowing, the spending, the size of government, and what those monies were being used for, the kind of expenditure in which government was using those monies for. But here's the case, they turned deaf ears to us, and whenever we spoke, they tried to remind us that we didn't do this, or it is our fault, it is their fault, A, B, C, D. Baumia every day, when Ghanaians were serious, was making mockery of everything. Every time we spoke, he decided to make mockery of everything we said. But here's the case, I mean, his mockery has been exposed in one way or the other. From January to date, the cedi has depreciated at a rate never seen before in the history of
Never seen before.
Never seen, yes, within 3 months. The depreciation of the cedi has never been seen before within these 3 months in the history of the Fourth Republic.
Right.
In terms of percentage, even in terms of the nominal figures. You understand?
What has been what's the current, exchange rate?
Well, I'm sure Mr. AC would disagree with me, but as of this morning, it was 8.5.
I see.
Ghana cedis to
the
the
high.
dollar. Yes, 8.5. If you are buying the dollar, if you're selling the dollar, I think it's 8.35. Understand? That is really on the high. And you see, sometimes when we make the argument about the cedi depreciating, people feel that, well, I don't buy dollars, so I have no business with that. But once you go to the market, and I made a very, very, very classical example on my Facebook wall, which was a very simple understanding for everybody to comprehend, that I bought a carton of chicken at 115 cedis on a Monday morning. And the person brought it to my house. I tried paying via mobile money. It wasn't going through. So I asked him to go, I'll send it. And it still didn't go through. Tuesday morning, the person calls me and says that the 115 he sold to me has now increased to 145. So I have just from morning to the next morning, that was about 24 hours. So I had to pay the 145 Ghana cedis. And I mean, yes, everything he was saying made so much sense to me. I just couldn't argue. I had to pay. This is the kind of situation you find yourself, that you buy something in the morning, by evening the price has changed. You buy something in the evening, by morning the price has changed. And this is all as a result of the depreciation of the currency. So there's so much uncertainty in the system. You go to the ports now and it's virtually empty. People cannot pay their duties. A small car, as the small ones they use for Uber, Nissan Toyota Vitz, right? Yeah. Just 2 weeks ago, the duty of a Nissan Toyota Vitz was about 15,000 Ghana cedis, 14,999. That was about 15,000 Ghana cedis. Today, when you go to that same port, the duty for that same car is at 24,999. You understand? Even though government hasn't announced that we've increased duties, but as a result of the depreciation of the cedi, even the duties of cars have gone up. Everything has gone up. What are the solutions that they are professing? They're saying now they are going to cut spending, they are going to reduce their flagship programs, they are going to review. In fact, they're very interesting word, of course.
Mr. AC has denied the word review, and also the Minister of Information, Kojo Ponkruma, yesterday on the sister station has also denied.
Yeah. So what word are they using? So that, okay, so what word can we use?
Cost cutting.
Yeah, it says they have used the word cost cutting. They would want to cut cost.
But if you are cutting costs, no matter how you decide to play with the word, you are reviewing it. No matter what you do, you are reviewing it. You understand?
That's your interpretation of.
Oh yes, I mean, if you decided to cut costs, so you just don't want to use the word review, because when we use the word review earlier, you said it meant cancellation.
Yes.
How can review means cancellation?
That's what it meant. 3 years.
How can to review something means to cancel something?
SHS 3 years to 4 years. You say you review it from 4 years, and what?
Mr. Please, let's have the real. You've never seen. No. How can I have political interpretation to a word? There's no way you can have a political interpretation to a word. There is no way you can tell us to review means to cancel. But here's the case. Now the MPP is running away from using the word just review. Just that word, review. But here's the case: they are coming back. It's scaring them, and their own words are eating them. When we told them that we needed to review this free SHS policy, the NPP had a problem with it. We told you, and you see, when we started and we decided to review certain things, or we said, okay, instead of even reviewing certain things, let's cancel certain things. Example, teacher training allowances. Let's take off the allowances and let's introduce loans. Nursing training allowances. Let's take off the allowances and let's introduce loans. Because where we were coming from as a country to where we have gotten to, we didn't need to continue with the allowances. We needed to introduce student loans so that the economy in itself would be strong and robust. The NPP decided to go on a promising spree. One village, one dam, one district, one factory, 1 district, 1 million, and they were going to introduce allowances. They were going to introduce free SHS. We said, hold it. Let's be realistic. Let's look at the books. Where are you even going to get the money from? I remember Akufo-Addo was asked this question when he went to the United States. He was asked, where are you going to get the money from to implement free SHS? What did he tell us? The money is there. When they asked Bawumia said the money is in the Bank of Ghana. Today, Bawumia has become so mute, and it's interesting that I'm just waiting to hear what he has to say. Because day in, day out, the Ghanaian people are disappointed in the NPP. They are sad at what the NPP is doing, and they are even more disappointed in the Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Bawumia, because of the kind of words he used, the poetry, the finesse, and how he even went about it, speaking eloquently as to how he was going to turn the economy around. What do we see today? People are suffering. Justice, no matter how you toss the coin, no matter how you look at it, when you go out there, forget even the economic figures, the indicators, the percentages, and what have you. People are suffering. That is basic knowledge. People are suffering. You go out, people's salaries are unable to meet the 30-day. You understand? Fuel prices have gone up astronomically to the extent that people cannot even buy fuel. Their salaries cannot even buy fuel. Rents have gone up. Fuel prices have gone up. The next thing that will soon go up, because once fuel prices go up, it also affects energy. So don't be surprised if electricity will go up. And once electricity goes up, water goes up, because it's the energy that is being used for electricity to power some of this.
But why are we having this argument and also not looking at the fact that this government has been faced with COVID-19 for 3 weeks to 4 weeks? I mean, teachers were not going to school, students were not going to school. I mean, government sector workers were being paid and all of that. Water was actually given to the good people of Ghana for free. Electricity was also given to the good people of Ghana for free. And all these things translate into money. I mean, government financed this from the state's coffers. So COVID has taken a lot away from us. Why don't you look at it from that?
Does it have a problem when the NPP decides to bask everything on COVID? Already the economy was weak, and COVID just exposed.
They are asking you for figures. 2017, 2018,
the economy itself was weak.
Okay.
The economy was weak, and we kept on telling them, we kept on singing to them that the rate at which we were borrowing, the rate at which we were going out the bond market, and the rate at which even our credibility in terms of the bond market was dwindling, we needed to look at it. In fact, we were getting 70% of our bonds per value. You understand? And now we cannot even go back to the bonds market, because what we're going to get is going to be 12.5% of interest, which would be too much for this country. As it stands now, this year, just for the amortization of the loans, we are supposed to pay 37 billion Ghana cedis. And you look at our wages and salaries, it's 36 billion. And if you look at what we even rope in as revenue through taxes, just taxes alone, it's around 70 billion Ghana cedis. You understand? So if you take our wages and you take the amortization this year, means that we cannot even meet what we're supposed to get to. You understand? And as it stands now, because of the depreciation of the cedi, production has gone down, importation has gone down, people are not working, businesses are closing down, because people's capital has been shrunk by the depreciation of the cedi. Because if your business was worth 500,000 Ghana cedis in January, as we stand now in March, it has been reduced to about 375,000 Ghana by the depreciation of the cedi. If you are now calculating vis-a-vis the dollar and its equivalent. So that is what is happening. So even the government's target of meeting the 70 billion Ghana cedis in terms of revenue, government will not be able to meet those targets. You understand? That is where we find ourselves. And don't forget, even the capital, in terms of refinancing the principal of some of the loans. We're supposed to raise $5 billion this year. In 2025, we will have to pay $35 billion. So our problems are not even near ending. The problems are even more ahead of us. And how did we get here? We kept on telling them that, you see, you don't borrow to spend on things that do not add capital to you. You do not borrow and spend on certain kind of expenditure. If you are spending, there should be things that will add up to your GDP. Now today you are cutting costs. Cutting costs would not increase the size of your GDP. Never. Cutting costs is now just a knee-jerk reaction. And we told them, even the size of your government, your spending, what you are spending on, no one is saying don't spend. People borrow. You see, countries even owe, America owes trillions of dollars. But they are able to service it. Why? Because if they calculate their GDP, they calculate their expected revenue, they are able to service all their loans. That is how you move as a country. That is why you can see a big company. I mean, look at a big company that owes about, say, 1 million Ghana cedis. And you see a small, and the big company is still flourishing. Right. And you see a small kiosk of a woman, you know, selling toffees and what have you, owing maybe 1,000 Ghana cedis, yet she's unable to pay. And at the end of the day, she may have to close that shop. So it is not just about how much you owe, but it is how much you owe against how you are able to service what you owe, against your expected revenue and how you will service them. And as it stands now, it doesn't look like from our expected revenue, we will be able to service most of our loans and our debts. So that is why we keep telling you that the size of the things you are doing would lead us to this situation. And what do we have? We are there. And now they are beginning to play with words. We'll review this, we'll look at this, we'll restructure this, we'll cut costs on this, we'll do that, we'll do this. But if they refuse to listen to the advice we have for them, they'll have no option than to still go back to the IMF. And you see, people let it look like going to the IMF is you're going to the devil. You're not going to the devil. The MPP in itself is even scared of going to the IMF, not because of the restructuring, but because of the books we suspect have been cooked and will be exposed, especially with regards to the COVID funds, where people were supposed to spray common markets with millions of cedis, where people went to drink tea at conferences with over 36 million Ghana cedis. The MPP is scared of some of these things being exposed by the IMF, and that is why they are running away from the IMF. Because you see, the IMF, when you look at it, they don't even give you so much money, but what they give you to is credibility for you to be able to go out there and get more money. You understand? And as it starts now, per our ratings, the government cannot go and borrow. So from where we sit and what we see and where we are going, sometimes you don't go to IMF because you actually need the money, but you go to IMF because of the policy credibility of the government. Because then what it means is that investors don't even believe in the country for them to bring money into the country. But when it gets to that point where everything is down, your currency is depreciating, you're unable to meet your debt, you're unable to service them, then you would have
But the argument
to go
is
there.
that we've been to IMF on several occasions, not under this government alone, but under previous governments and all of that. We've not seen any significant development. So it means that IMF is not the solution. I mean, we need to look for other possible ways and means to develop our nation.
No, what happens is that you go to the IMF, then you are able to restructure your spending and everything. But at the end of the day, it's so funny. As soon as we come out of IMF, we go back to the old ways. And that is what has been happening. That is why since 1957, we've been to the IMF 16 times. We've been to the IMF 16 times. That's because right after we come out of the IMF, we feel, okay, now let's loosen our belts. Let's go back to our ways. Let's spend as we used to spend. You understand? Right. And this is not peculiar to one government, because since 1957 to date, we've gone to the IMF 16 times. And I mean, whether you like it or not, there's one other factor that also leads out to some of this excessive spending. Right. And maybe he may disagree, and maybe even my party may also disagree. But usually, when it gets to election period, governments or the sitting government decides to overspend just to win elections, especially when they are seeking re-election. Most of the time when they are seeking re-election, they overspend. So if you want, just check it. Most of the government go to IMF after they seek re-election. Then you realize that during the previous election, they overspent. Now, what happened? In 2020, we all saw what happened. Just in the bid for Nanado to win the elections, they decided to make everything free under the guise of COVID. Yes, there was COVID. but they decided to make everything free.
The economy was ravaged.
There was COVID.
Were supposed to be cushioned.
The economy was ravaged,
so
and that is why money was even given. But you see, every time when you make the argument about COVID, that is where I also have a problem with, because even under the circumstances of COVID, I mean, if you look at the economy of Togo didn't depreciate; it went up. If you look at the economy of Ivory Coast, it also went up. So what did they do right that we couldn't do right? Don't forget that they didn't also have an election.
Don't also forget that our borders were closed and all of that.
But their borders, we closed our borders against, we closed our borders so we couldn't export, they couldn't also import. So these are countries with similar economic factors. So what went wrong? You understand? So let us not deceive ourselves as if we do not know what happened. Because we kept on singing this song many years back, that the rate at which this government was going about things were just leading to the ditch, and that is where we've gotten to. Just imagine, I mean, just let me land. Just imagine the size of government. I mean, in the time of John Mahama, a ministry that was run by two women, and that this government is being run by 6 people.
I see.
So
what ministry is that?
Let's even take Ministry of Transport, for example. Ministry of Transport was run by the late Honorable Jafar Ativo and Joyce Bauer, 2 women. Under this government, the Ministry of Transport has been broken down to Ministry of Aviation, and the Ministry of Transport itself, and Ministry of Railways, with 3 ministers. Some even have 2 deputies. So it's been run by a minimum of 6 people. Why do you need such a huge government? Tell me. All this is part of the spending we talk about. The Ministry of Finance now is run by not less than 6 people. You have the Minister of Finance himself, you have a Minister of Finance at the presidency, and you have about 3 deputy finance ministers, right? And at the end of the day, this is what
3.
I think that there should be about
John
2
Kuma,
or 3.
The lady, and another one.
State Charles Aduboy.
Yes. So I mean, if you look at all this adds up to the fact that there are too many people doing the same thing. And sometimes when we speak about some of these things, you feel that, oh, after all, how much does it take for you to pay a minister? How much is insignificant? It's insignificant compared to the size of government. But trust me, with the little insignificant figures you talk about, at the end of the day, it becomes very voluminous. And all of that adds up to the wastage. So if we do not look at how we are going to review most of the... Well, you see, even if you go to the IMF, they are going to... What they are cutting costs, it's the same thing the IMF is going to tell you. So, I mean, it's like they've just taken the template of the IMF and they are implementing it. Just at the end of the day, they are not going to get a policy credibility from IMF if they don't go to IMF. So, of course, if you go to IMF, of course, IMF will tell you, cut this, cut that, reduce this, reduce that, because it doesn't give you any form of productivity. It doesn't add anything to your GDP. So they should, the first thing I expect them to do, and especially I hear the finance minister will be speaking tomorrow.
Yes.
They should tell the Ghanaian people the hardcore truth, where they are, where we are as a country. I think the time for the embellishment of the English language and trained jargons is over. We should be able to tell the Ghanaian people where we are as a country and where we can go. Then Ghanaians can accept and sympathize with us. Otherwise, then we are just running around.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you for another bite. You are still watching Hot News right here on Pan-African Television with me, Justice Appiah. You can join in the conversation by sending in your views, comments, and contributions on our WhatsApp/text line displayed on the screen. We'll make a time and read all those out for you. Those of you watching us on Facebook can share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. My very good friend, Bibi Odro, you're watching. Thank you so much for watching the program tonight. Let me come to you, Mr. Izzy, once again. You talked about cutting costs instead of using the word reviewing some of your flagship policies. Cutting cost, where cutting cost means.
Yeah, thank you. Before I delve into that, I don't know why my brother Osman is comparing Togo, Cote d'Ivoire to Ghana.
To Ghana, okay.
Because Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, their central bank is hedged in France. Okay, so their currency is linked to the French franc. Right. So it's not that they are running their own thing and all that. And so somebody, there's a regulator, a central regulator, as far as some of those things. And so they don't have the free will to make certain expenditure. Okay, so that's
uses the CFA.
Yes, and Cote d'Ivoire same. Okay, all the sub-regional francophone countries are doing same. So that is it. Now, the government is saying that, look, we are looking at it from the office of government machinery or government business at the presidency, all the way to ministries, departments, and agencies.
Right.
Everywhere, we are going to look at cutting down on expenditure. And interestingly, as you indicated earlier, it's transcended into emoluments by certain category of
I think that
people.
the
Yes.
executive
Yes. So Council of State is going to do 20% of his allowances, and the executive is mentioning 30%, and throwing a challenge to the legislature to also do something. But
the minority members of parliament are against it.
I'm surprised.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
You recall that some time ago when former
me,
President John Dramani Mahama insisted that his cabinet actually cut costs.
Yes.
You know, reduced their salaries by 10%.
Yes.
Well, your members of parliament were there. They never said anything about it. They were never part of it.
Yes.
According to them, they invited the new patriotic parties to Senchi.
Yes.
You boycotted it and issued a statement that none of your members should attend that.
Yeah, we didn't go to Senchi.
So why would you want them to participate when you are facing economic?
No, we said members of power. At that time, they didn't talk members of parliament. They talked about the executives cutting their salaries by 10%.
Right.
Okay, ministers, members of government, and others. I didn't hear them talking about members of parliament doing same. If they had willingly done so, it would have not been a problem. And so, if today we are doing that, this is a voluntary something that the president is calling on all of us. We know we are in a difficult time. And we need to take stringent measures that can help us, ride the boat to a berth, safe berth. And that is important.
At what point did we realize, at what point did government realize that we are in difficult times, the economy is not good? I'm asking this because if indeed we are very much aware of this situation, the president wouldn't have been flying in the, chartered jets and all.
What does the movement of the president, what does it rake in?
That would have
Let's do the cost-benefit analysis. Let's do the cost-benefit analysis of each travel that he makes.
And I is 14,000 US
when
dollars,
he went and brought money for the establishment of the development bank, you remember that? How much came into the country? We can put pen and paper there and do the cost-benefit analysis on those things. So let's get it going. And look, if your economy grew, it had been projected to get negative growth in 2020. And we're able to, by dint of hard work, to get to positive 0.41. Okay, if you grow in at an average of 7%, and then there's a disaster, and you grow at less than 1%, you need to know that something is not right. So you need to do everything to rebuild. And so in the process of the rebuilding, then another thing is happening. Okay, so we are looking at all that, and that should tell you, no, what are we going to do? That's why we said we're going to bring in COVID.
Again, in the budget, in the budget, it was included that government wanted to recruit some more, or some 2,000 persons to the office of the president or to the presidency and all of that. If we were cognizant of the situation, why are we adding more people to the government?
Well, we are looking at getting about 50,000 people with National Communications Authority. Okay, the NAPCO guys transition to permanent jobs and all that. It doesn't mean you should stop creating opportunities for your people. You need to open opportunities.
When the economy is intact.
No, you are rebuilding. In the rebuilding process, opportunities may be there. Do you know that even under COVID, some people became very rich? Okay, under COVID,
I see.
It was an opportunity for those sewing those masks and co. It was serious business. Okay, the scientists who were coming with their antigens and all that, it's serious business for them, right? And so you cannot say because there was a negative this, everybody. No, there are some people who had it right. Okay, but in the tourism and hospitality industry, there was difficulty. Right, because of the nature of the pandemic. And so it affected some people seriously, but aggregating it, the country suffered.
But we are looking at
that is what we are doing.
If indeed we want to cut costs, then it means that we need to reduce the size of government as suggested. We need to, reduce.
I ain't got no problem with that.
Exactly.
I ain't got problems with that. And the sacrifices are coming.
If that is what we intend to do,
yes.
why then we have to add more people when people are already complaining that the size of government is too huge?
We had made a projected budget. You may refer to the budget. The same budget said we were going to expend 137.5 billion. But the same budget later, they're saying 20% cut in that. So what does it tell you? It means there's the likelihood that those 2,000 people you are talking about, they could be a hold on to that. You get it? And for things to be normalized before they'll be brought on board. So once the government made that proposition and then said, no, we'll hold on with that and reduce it by 20%, and now even some aspects is going to 30%, then it tells you, no, we are revising that position that initially was taken. Okay? That is important when to look at that. Now, the issue of my brother, I was surprised. He said we're cooking figures. What? This government cook, your government cooked figures. We paid over $38 million as punishment by the World Bank or IMF some time back when we took over from you. Okay, so we're penalized. I don't remember any time when you took over the nation was penalized for any cooked figure. No, we don't do that. So we put our figures before them, and you remember in the time past, recent past, we had put two different figures. Okay, when we talk of the bank revisions at the banking sector reforms. Okay, we didn't add those expenditure to the general expenditure of government. You remember that, and it became an issue. People were going back and forth. So let's look at that.
Now, before you continue,
yes.
We know that now you are not reviewing, but you are cutting costs. How would cutting costs, how do you intend to cut costs on these flagship policies of yours to save the country some reasonable amount of money? We are talking about free SHS. We're talking about
now you see,
how do you intend to cut
I have said that 3 or 4 of those flagship programs, the free SHS, the NAPCO,
so please just give me 10
the students,
the
nurses allowance, teachers allowance, and then I think leap or so.
Yes.
When you put them together, is a little shy of 10 billion. Okay, and it's been made, the argument is also been made that it's about the total expenditure there is about 43 billion with all the flagship programs put together. And so what it tells me is that in a country that has generated revenue of over 450 billion, okay, over the period. So if these amounts, less than 10% of that is going into supporting these things, what it tells me is we can still leave these flagship programs and then we'll do the cost cutting elsewhere. Okay, when we look into it, or we can say, okay, this policy or program you can hold on for some time, and then let's focus on this. But free SHS and these nurses allowance and co, I don't think anybody is going to touch it.
Is it possible that
I don't believe it's going to be touched?
Are we going to see,
do you know something?
Because
I think we are not even spending much on free SHS because all these years we've expended 7.7 billion.
Free SHS has been earmarked as part of the flagship program.
It is.
That needs to be looked at in terms of cost cutting.
Yes. If there's cost cutting, it doesn't mean you're going to touch that. No, some are making the argument that the boarding system should be scrapped.
Okay.
You get it? That argument, friends of mine outside have made the argument continuously that, look, elsewhere, they do some of these things, but in the boarding system, they don't do that. Then I make the argument that when Anaya Asafo-Mafo had admission to Achimota from Achimavisa, okay, they didn't know nobody in Achimota, in Accra. Okay, if he came and you say he should, where was he going to stay as a day student? There's this boy that got admission to advancement school before I left the place. And this young guy from a village in Tepa, okay, Hafuano Southwest or so, one of the places, he got to advancement school and got admission. If he were not given a boarding status, how was he going to live in Cape Coast to be able to pursue his academic this thing, okay, scholarly work? It's going to be difficult. So we look at that and we say, look, some of these boarding things, let's look at it from humanitarian point of view. And so if we look at that, yeah, but if we make the argument again that, okay, we want to take that out and people should go to schools within their catchment area, that's another policy that we can look at, okay? And so, yes, those things can be looked at and that can be part of the cost-cutting measures. But I don't think the free SHS is going to be touched. I don't think so.
Ambassador Appiah is watching. He has a message for you.
Yes, that's a greeting for me. He's my boss.
The very first part of the message says, Justice, your position on NDC attendance is most unfortunate. Check the history of all programs on Pan-African television, and you find that NDC persons have been very active and supportive.
Justice.
I agree with
Justice. You. No, wait.
But
they are not being fair to you. You forgive me.
Very well.
Justice said in recent times.
I mean,
you are not being fair to him.
I need to emphasize
but even in the recent times. Even in the recent time. No, Justice was not being fair.
I need to emphasize on the
one or two hitches. Don't just lamp everyone. One or two hitches.
The second part of the message goes for you.
Yes, sir.
On COVID, may I ask if national debt has been created because of the COVID? In 2019 and 2022, at the peak of COVID, did the IRS or Ghana Revenue Authority not exceed their revenue targets? The amount of revenue received for the COVID was far more than we could have mobilized as a country. The difficult times in the country has been due to bad governance and economic mismanagement and over-borrowing, so they must face it. Let them account for the COVID funds. That is a message from Ambassador.
Thank you, Ambassador. Good evening to you and the family.
Right.
You see, Ambassador has every right to make these allusions. You see, when COVID happened, how about the expenditure? I don't understand why people say it cannot be accounted for. Don't we have Auditor General again? Don't you have the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament again? Don't they hold people to accounting for expenditure? And are you saying IMF and the World Bank that gave us those monies are not going to hold us liable to account for those monies?
Right.
Okay? They saw what the monies were used for, to support and cushion the people.
I see.
Water, electricity, and all that were done. Okay, and support for small businesses. You remember that,
right?
Over 600 million directly, and then the banks were mobilized to support with 3 billion cedis. Okay, all these things were done in those areas, and those were stimulus packages to revive challenged companies and co. And these things were done in a lot of countries. And His Excellency Ambassador Appiah knows what I'm talking about. And these things happen under this government.
Right.
So please, last year we had a ceded target marginally. Yes, revenue target marginally. So we are hoping that things will be in place. But this year, the difficulty, when they talk about borrowing, yes, debt to GDP as of this day was about 80.1, right? That's recent. You see, I don't want to make that argument. The time
public debt has risen to 251
yes,
billion.
yes, it's recent.
Yeah, 51 billion.
Yes.
Now with the depreciation of the cedi, won't still be at 351 billion.
No,
it's calculated in dollars.
Definitely go ahead. I mean, I'm told that there are some more loan facility
351 billion is cedi terms. So yes, it's going to be.
But the loans were calculated from dollars. That was it was 6.4. So that it was 350.
So you see the debt to GDP issue. I had made the argument here before that when you look at the rate of debt accumulation relative to debt inherited, this government hasn't done badly. But the debt to GDP, next time we will talk about it. I'm not going to prolong it. But I'm just giving you a clue that when President Kufuor left, debt to GDP was 33%, about 32.8, so 33. Then they took it from 33% to 57%. That's 56.9. And then now, check the percentage points addition. Jump.
Okay.
Next time we will do that argument. That happened without world crunches, economic and pandemic and all that, or war. But now This government
Why
is
are you
facing two
attributing
major
the
things.
Russia-Ukraine war
It is
economic
brought
problems?
the cost of fuel and gas. Cost of gas and everything is going up.
Yet we are blaming Russia. Yet we are blaming Russia and Ukraine for their war.
Get certain imported items easily.
But the truth is that if you are a net producer of oil,
and you yourself,
it benefits you. You can subsidize
he said, go to the port and see freight. It's because of freight and not any duty imposed at the port.
Very well.
It's freight.
Okay, all right.
And lastly, the transport ministry, and I don't remember we have any aviation ministry today. I don't remember we have anything like that.
All right, okay, my brother, take us home.
I thought the MPP would come out and be sympathetic to the Ghanaian people, considering the mess in which they have put us into so far as this past 3 months.
What would you have done?
This past 3 months is concerned. Oh, Mr. AC, please.
You've done your part.
Considering the mess this current government has put this country into. And in fact, if Ghana were to be a company, in fact, let me put on record that the banks in which the finance minister closed down, if you want to equate what we are going through right now, we are even performing worse than the banks they closed down. Because as it stands now, we are actually moving to the negative point as a country. I understand. The rate at which the cedi is depreciating, the rate at which prices are going up, the rate at which people are unable to meet even the basic needs of life is becoming alarming. And I thought the MPP by this time would not come and be doing what you call a comparative analysis of the NDC and the MPP.
Right.
I thought by this time they would rather preparing serious solutions and appealing to the Ghanaian people that we have disappointed
you. The finance minister will address the nation tomorrow. In fact, I'm told that they are pumping some $2 billion into the system to make sure that we stabilize the depreciation of a cedi and all of that.
We are told
that is a solution.
We are told. Where is the $2 billion coming from? They haven't told us.
Kindly go on with your submission.
Yes. Okay, yes. I'll wait to hear from the finance minister what he has to say. But till then, I thought the MP would have taken a posture of remorse, trying to be more apologetic to the Ghanaian people, considering the mess in which the Ghanaian people are going through, the suffering, the hardship. Mr. Isi, maybe you do not understand the gravity of what is happening in the country. I can understand because you are being cushioned day in, day out. So you don't understand what Justice and myself are going through every morning from Monday to Friday. You do not understand. So when we speak, just try and listen to us and try to be sympathetic towards our plight, because people are suffering. And what people only expect from the MPP or the government is an enabling environment for business to strive. The MPP keeps making so much noise that they've created this, they've created NAPCO, they've done this, they've done that. You see, when you even do all this and the economy in itself is not creating an enabling environment for businesses to grow, then you are killing more businesses. But you do not know the number of businesses that have just closed down within the past 3 months because their capitals have been shrunk by the depreciation of the cedi.
Right.
So if you as a government, if you as a government, please let me land. If you as a government cannot sustain the economy, cannot sustain your currency, now at the end of the day, you have no business putting up all these flagship programs just to create some sort of temporary employment. We need to create an enabling environment through the economy for businesses to grow.
Right.
So, for me, what I can tell the good people of this country going through the hardship is that from the strategy and what the MPP is professing, we do not think that it will take us to the promised land. We only hope and pray that what they are saying actually works. Because for me and you sitting here as Ghanaians, what we want is a stable economy. That if this paper costs 2 cedis and I've budgeted to buy this paper in 2 weeks' time. For the next 2 weeks, when I come back, I shouldn't hear the paper actually cost 3 Ghana cedis.
Right.
Understand? This is what the Ghanaian people are asking for. So we beg Mr. Isi to go and tell the president that this is the hue and cry of the Ghanaian people, that we need a stable economy. That is all.
Right.
Anything the finance minister says, we are waiting to hear.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
But this one is why are we here? The one of the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia-Ukraine war.
Our time is that we have to go. Stimulus packages for water. Stimulus packages for water and electricity was never free. What is the COVID levy for? Stimulus packages for water and electricity was never free.
It was free.
What is COVID levy for?
It was free.
President Kufuor left the NDC with a single spine salary scale, and the implementation of that singular policy instantly bloated the country's wage bill. From Ambassador Sampiale, His Excellency. This is what time we'll allow us on the program. Make a time with us, same time tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming. Osman is my brother. Sometimes when it happens like that,
so don't say recent times. We are very loyal to this station.
We have been very.
I apologize for coming late, but we've been very loyal to justice and this station. No, justice. No, I think I won't come.
No, you. I mean, 3 days ago it happened.
No, that's what I've said. I know. Maybe it's something. It's just one event. It's just one. Okay.
Truly African.
Today is Wednesday, the 23rd of March, 2022. It's my birthday. Oh, my goodness. I'm 12 years old today. All right, welcome to the newspaper segment. A big thank you to you, Ivy Abena Dede Nakite, and Bless Headman Alomaso for bringing us up to speed with what is happening on the front pages of the various newspapers and also what is happening in our country is very important. You guys are doing a very good job. Congratulations, guys. Yeah, and also to our technical team, Adam, Frank Akakpo, to Titi, to Foster, to Dion, to Sewa. Gerald, is Gerald there? Gerald is in there. Oh, okay. To Gerald, good morning. Gerald, a champion. Do your name is it a champion? You know what? A champion. Okay, a champion. Yeah. And to our executive producer, Amma Pratt. Good morning. I trust you well. Stop fighting.
You want to start the fight.
Stop the fight.
You are starting the fight.
I don't start wars. I don't start wars. I'm a peacemaker. I always make peace. Yeah, I always make peace. But let me say thank you to all those who have wished me happy birthday on Facebook. I'm surprised. The love is deep. Thank you. But you see, now we have moved beyond just wishing us Facebook. Wishing us happy birthday on Facebook. We've moved beyond that. Now we need Momo. Okay, let's do something, eh? Whose Momo number crash should I put out? Frank, you, eh? What's your Momo number? 0245. 0 what? 0555 49 55 82 0555 49 55 82. That's the Momo number.
What's the name?
Let's see how loved I am. 1 CD, 2 CD, 3 CD, 5 CD, 10 CD, 1,000, 2,000. Yeah, show me love on my birthday. Let me buy some cake. And easy. Frank, if you don't know when the Momo comes, you don't give me my money. You said what was the Momo number again? 0555